Okay, everyone, I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Okay, you can see me clearly, right?
We do.
Yes, Noor.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Sati, for introducing me. Okay, I am pleased to be here with you today, and I think he properly introduced me, so I do not need to do this again. Today, I'm going to be talking about an interesting topic, and to introduce this topic, this presentation actually will be unlocking the power of 3D face modeling because it will explore the latest advancements and research topics in transforming the 2D facial data into immersive three-dimensional representations. So let's discover how mobile applications are revolutionizing the way we capture and manipulate our digital data. Actually, lots of challenges are met here, like the depth perception. When we talk about facial scanning, we want to extract the depth information from the 2D images in order to create a realistic 3D structure. Also, the facial features, we need to accurately map them in order to include the eyes, the nose, the lips, and more. The lighting and texture of your item being scanned, which is a face here in this presentation, is actually very, very important to achieve a natural lifelike appearance. So let's start. Today I'll be talking about artificial intelligence in many aspects. Also, I'm going to be discussing different uses of face models like for maxillofacial prosthodontics and digital smile design. Also, I'm going to be talking about how this helps in creating virtual patients. So when I talk about AI, what I mean today is photogrammetry. I'm going to be talking a bit about that, and then the equipment and software, how stitching works, because this is actually the algorithm behind everything, and the data acquisition. Eventually, I'll be explaining the prosthodontic possibilities. So let's start. What is photogrammetry? Photogrammetry is actually the science and technology of obtaining reliable information about the physical objects and the environment through the process of recording, measuring, and interpreting the photographic images. In other words, it is the extraction of three-dimensional measurements from two-dimensional data. So it's all about the science and technology of making measurements through photographs. Actually, this is as ancient as history. This is a 1525 engraving that uses this concept to infer 3D data from two-dimensional images. We can see this worldwide, actually, as artificial intelligence is being implemented everywhere. For example, virtual museums that people take 2D photos for monuments, and then you can visit the monument literally while you are at home through those applications. So it's in every possible field, not just prosthodontics. But the thing about prosthodontics is that, sorry. Huh? I think I'm having a connection lag here. Okay. 3D scanning is a rapidly growing field, and face scanning is a branch showing great potential in various applications, but still it's new and little researched. So, for example, this very nice paper did a lot of effort using specialized equipment in order to capture this nice 3D model, but equipment and software was always an issue because those actually photogrammetry always counted on the complexity of equipment and the expense as well. So that was always a drawback. The heavy gear, the expensive cameras, more than one lens, which was a bit complex, or in other words, the stereoscope. Even with handheld scanners, which do a great job, like the Arctic handheld scanners or the PIC systems, which are very new and very interesting. Those are the precise implant capture systems and are very effective in implant prosthesis, rehabilitation, and still they are a bit expensive and a bit complex. So this is why technology evolved from the stereoscope or two sources or two lenses to the monoscope or the one lens. You want to get your 3D model from just one lens. And this is the whole idea. And as smartphones are available and their functionality is growing, the potential for 3D face scanning mobile apps has massively increased as well. So whether you have an iPhone or an Android operating device, multiple applications are available. For example, this very nice research in 2021 compared 6 of them. 5 of them was on iPhone and only one back at the date, which was 2021, I believe, was on the 3D Scanner Pro. Back then, they tested the average scanning time, which was 100 seconds. 100 seconds is about 2 minutes, and you don't necessarily have that much time in your clinic. So in 2024, lots of other apps like the X1 AI are available on the market. And in 20 seconds, actually, with this application, I can make a full face model. Sometimes I choose the option of videos. Sometimes I choose the still images that are being stitched together. Anyhow, I only need 20 seconds, which is very nice, and 20 photos, and also less than 20 seconds of processing time, and you got your model. So according to Professor Rodrigo Salazar Gamara, a pioneer in this field, in this very interesting research, he talked that the free softwares that can be used by computers, tablets, or other mobile devices to generate 3D models from two-dimensional pictures are alternatives to the expensive photogrammetry devices. So the idea is simply you take multiple images for the patient, and then the algorithm determines like many points in common and glues them together or stitches them together. So what is the clinical implication of this technology? The free software and the low-cost equipment could be a feasible solution to obtain 3D models for making digital face impressions for maxillofacial patients. And this improves the access for clinical centers that do not necessarily have high-cost technology considered as a prior acquisition. So we have talked about photogrammetry, a bit about the equipment and software. Let's see how stitching works. And let's talk about triangulation. Triangulation actually is having overlapping images as a key to photogrammetry. And it works by identifying the same points in multiple images. It is possible to determine whether those points are located in 3D space and then they are stitched together. And this is called triangulation. If for my example or the video that I am playing, you can see that green dots indicate that you are doing great with your model and you can proceed because the application or the 3D scanner that you're using can stitch them nicely. But when they get red, you get to know like, I have to go back to where I was. And this is very important because tonight, we're going to discuss how to make the best of those applications and what are the important factors to discuss. So how this is done? Simply, you move around your subject and you keep a very stable distance, as we're going to discuss in a moment, with your target at 90 degrees or at the center. And then you move around your model until you reach the 180 degree, which is the other part of the face or the other ear and hairline. So in other words, those applications, they work by determining common points in two-dimensional photos and then stitches them together to get those incredible three-dimensional models. We talked about the stitching and how it works. So let's discuss the data acquisition. And let's say that we have lots of factors that influence that variable. Like, for example, the subject and operator positioning and background, the lighting, and the mobile device and application. So if you want to make the best of those applications, and actually I am talking about academic research behind the algorithms of those applications, you have to put your subject, or position the subject in a 45 centimeter high chair according to this nice research, and you in an upright seated position with 1 meter of floor space between the chair and the position of the operator, with at least 0 to 180 clearance laterally where 90 degrees will be the primary area of interest. Again, this is important because you have two options of either a 360 degrees where you rotate fully around the subject, you do this 360 degrees, or you just want to take like the front from one ear to another. So 180 degrees of clearance laterally before you start is important. So this is the photo capture. As I said previously, lots of research document this, with 90 degrees being the center of your model. This is how you get the best stitching of your model. So the outcome of this very nice research was a 3D printed face model in which prosthodontics can make this nice prosthesis for the patient. Clear background is definitely a must. You need a visual color contrast between the background and the colors of the skin and the hair of the subject. And contrast is definitely very important as well. Here are two examples. I made those two examples, this nice Nubian home model and the other, which is just a cup. Those two objects were scanned with the same white background, and you can tell that one of them came out nicely, but the other one was a bit distorted. And why did this happen? This happened because the first one was textured, okay? As you can see here, the first one had lots of texture, had lots of color, and definitely can be easily stitched from images, or it can be separated from the background. But here the background was white and the cup was white, and here came the problem. By the way, those were done by two videos. I choose the option, many applications, they give you the choice of either you do this by gluing or stitching images together or making a video of the subject. I choose videos most of the time because I do not necessarily have lots of time. Okay, about the data acquisition. So I'm sorry about that, but I think we have people on the waiting room. Okay.
I'm admitting all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sati. Okay, about the data acquisition, we have lots of influencing factors like the subject and the operator position, and we talked about that, and the lightning and the mobile device and application. Sorry about that, an internet lag, I'm sorry. Just a moment. Can you see the presentation, Sati?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's, yeah, now I can see the movement as well.
Okay, I think. Okay. So the lighting. Actually, the lighting of the room is very important because sufficient lighting in the room, which was done in this research, yeah, and this is, and when I say sufficient lighting, I mean the ambient light that shall be enabled without flash, without over or under exposing the images, because the lighting, if it's underexposed, it affects your model, and if it's overexposed, it affects it too. I tried those lots of times. The lights of the room, the curtains of the windows in this research were opened, and these are the recommendations actually, and the orientation of the ambient light was considered to avoid getting shadows. You do not want shadows on your 3D model because shadows actually, they do not give you the best of the model. Okay, Sati or Glenn, would you please take care of the waiting room, because when I admit people, it stops my presentation. Right?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, do you follow?
Yes.
Okay. Irregular lighting also should be avoided because strong backlight and direct intense light to the subject Also, you have to avoid the objects with strong reflective or shiny surfaces that should be eliminated from the camera's field. So this application actually, it offers you a very, very nice walkthrough tutorial when you start dealing with it for the first time. It says that you can scan any object, convert it to 3D, and it gives you nice instruction that you should not be moving your model. Instead, you should be moving around the model for achieving the best results. Also, it's as easy as that. You choose your model and then you say like, I'm going to be going through a 360 images because I want the whole face or the whole head, I'm sorry, or just 180 degrees just from one ear to the other ear. This actually will do in lots of cases and lots of scenarios. This is another application that said that you have to encircle your target. It gives nice instructions as well. And also it discusses the stitching, okay? In simple terminology, it says you have to glue your regions and says that green lines or green dots are your goal. When you see green lines, this means that it's stitching nicely. Also, the lighting matters so much. You do not want a dark room, and you do not want to cast shadows, and you do not want to be over or underexposed. And also, you should be mobile rather than rotating your object. Having said that, let's talk a bit about the mobile device and application. So in this interesting research by Dr. Rodrigo, they used the free photogrammetry application, which was the Autodesk 1-2-3D Catch. So the camera parameters, such as the focal length and the lens distortion, are variables that influence the end result. Whether you're using an Android device or an iOS or an Apple device, it doesn't really matter, but the camera does. So the network is a variable. You need a good network connection. And also in this application, they used, in this paper, they use a pre-photogrammetry application, which was the Autodesk 1-2-3D Catch. And the device used here was a Samsung Galaxy Note 4 through the Android Play Store. So I think most people have Android devices. Also in this nice research for scanning, they used two phones, the iPhone XR and the Honor 20. The iPhone XR used a 12 megapixel rear camera, which was used for the Turnio. Turnio is the name of an application that you can find on iPhone, and 7 megapixel front camera for the Bellas 3D. I think that one stopped, but it was a very nice one. He just scanned the Pro and the Capture as well. And they use the Honor 20, which has a 48 megapixel camera, and the application was 3D Scanner Pro. So once you get your model, you want to make the best use of it. And this is why this step is very important. You need to calibrate your model. Unless you do this, you're going to be getting a very tiny details of your three-dimensional data. So how do we do this? In either ways, you can do this either by using facial reference points for measurements, for example, like using the interpupillary line or the interalar distance for the patient, and that was documented in lots of research. And if you already have the patient CT or CBCT, those are really properly magnified, so you can superimpose your model on them. So the Foscal CBCT will do. But if you don't have that, it's fine. As in this very nice research, they use the mesh mixer, which is a software that we commonly use to digitally scale the model. Scaling the model is an important step. Why? Because you want to print this model and do a prosthesis on it, for example. So having a scaled model is important. So let's talk about implementing the AI in mid-facial maxillofacial prosthetic construction. Okay. Actually, I got this from the agesdental.com. But this is a fast forward video that shows that they made a CBCT scan, a CBCT for the patient, and then they made a facial scan. They superimposed both of the face scan and the CBCT together in order to create, okay, here it comes, the virtual implant positioning and the surgical guide. Okay. Now they can place the implants not only guided by the evident bone, but also by the soft tissue, which is very, very important. In case of maxillofacial defects, you need to see the soft tissue data of the patient. And this is important because they might be using attachments or whatever system they are using. So the soft tissue is important. Now they created this AI-driven surgical guide. Here is it. And here comes the printing of this guide. This is a very lengthy video. Actually, I just fast forwarded it a bit. And here comes the surgical step. Okay, I do not want to be wasting your time, but eventually they are putting those implants so the patient can get a nice prosthesis eventually. And here we go. And here's another video, and this is from Dr. Rodrigo. He's a pioneer in that field. So in this video, he took like multiple images for the patient, and now he made this model on the Autodesk Recap 360. Now, after he uploaded this model, all right, now he stitched those images together. Okay, the model is done. Now he mirrored from the intact half of the face, he mirrored this half to the other side. And they can create now the eye, okay, or the ocular prosthesis, because this could be easily done if you see everything, okay, before any trauma or accident or cancer happened at this area. And here is the prosthesis. We can see the underlying implants and how this prosthesis is planned based on facial scan, not just the CBCT data. We can see that prosthesis or mid-facial defects benefit greatly actually from those scans and try in for the patient and eventually the inserted prosthesis. And I think this is a great job. So I wanted to give credit to the real authors of this video. Among all of them would be Dr. Rodrigo Salazar. So how this is possibly done by using the mobile application. This patient from my dear friend, Dr. Muhammad Nawar, a maxillofacial surgeon. Actually, this patient lost his ear secondary to a burn, and we wanted to orient the prosthetic ear. So we didn't know where to put this ear, but when we mirrored the intact half of the face, guided by this very nice application, the X1 AI, I got to know where exactly I can put my prosthesis. Also, I use this a lot when I'm dealing with cleft lip and palate patient, because those patients, after they go to surgery, everything changes for them. If you want to talk to patient about the importance of the appliances and the devices and the sessions and everything, this is what you want to do. You want to document your cases. Also, I use those scans for digital smile designs. And the thing is, we used to do the DSD through the softwares like the ExoCAD. It actually takes you through a wizard that asks for two sets of data, the retracted image and the smiling. Okay, a set of data, the retracted one and the smiling one, and then we can create the best smile for the patient. Imagine that you have the whole face. Imagine that you can do this not just from the two-dimensional images, but also from the 3D models. So I believe that 3D models here are a game changer. As we can tell, I got a very good quality model for my patient. And by the way, the ExoCAD has a new feature that you can actually upload these models to ExoCAD, not just the two-dimensional images. You can choose the image of, I want to upload a digital model. For example, this patient after preparations, and by the way, calibration here is done easily through the intraoral scanners. Intraoral scanners capture real dimensions. So if you have an intraorally scanned arch and now you want to stitch it to your model, and voila, you got your virtual patient. And virtual patients, it's a trend actually, but it adds a lot to our work. If you have your whole patient's data, his face, his eyes, his character, his smile, and whether it's a rounded face, it's an ovoid face, whatever it is, you can choose the best set of teeth for the patient, not just guided by the two-dimensional images, but guided by those 3D models. And this is why I believe it adds a lot to our work as prosthodontists. So let's talk a bit about the virtual patient. Okay, this nice paper I got from my dearest colleague, Philippe Newtons, and Dr. Philippe was gonna be with us today, but unfortunately, different timeline, so he could not attend. He's gonna count on the recorded version. This recently published paper talks about a maxillomandibular relationship and virtual face bow integration in complete arch intraoral implant scan. Let's see what they did in this technique, a very nice technique. Actually, they used those implant scan bodies with those occlusal pillars. When I talk about the occlusal pillars, I talk about this white part. So the nice thing about it is just it actually got them to record not only the implant positions but also the vertical dimension. Okay, this is well established in literature. Okay, let's see how they did a very nice technique. They use Lego parts in order to integrate the intraoral scan to the facial scan. For the facial scan, they made a very nice model with the Aegis 3D scanner, which is from the Apple App Store. However, what they did was stitching or gluing the intraoral scan to the extraoral facial scan. How this is beneficial in our field? This is quite important because in this technique they use like in order to actually orient the face bow, the virtual face bow, we used to count on a technique by Professor Luca Lipidi, which is a co-author in this paper, which counted on skeletal landmarks. Owing to those 3D face scan applications, they counted on soft tissue landmarks, which is the new about the technique. Now they can determine the hinge axis and eventually align them and orient the cast to the articulator on the exocad, and this is very nice. Another paper that was published a couple of days ago by the dearest I read for this author a lot, which is Professor Lipidi, and he also used the virtual patient in order to integrate data based on facial scans. So everybody wants the patient with all of its detail without having to regularly call the patient every now and then. If you have a virtual patient, you got everything. It saves a lot of time and effort. Also, this nice application, the X1 AI, it gives you lots of options when you want to download the model. So yeah, for me, I usually choose the OBJ or the PLY extensions, but you can definitely use the STL. Most probably I go with the OBJ or the PLY because those are the colored versions and I enjoy working with them. Another example here for documenting cases. This was a case that was rehabilitated by full arch implants, and it's nice to document the before and after. You can see here that I fixed the patient's head against the wall using a box of gloves here. You can do whatever you want to fix the patient's head as long as you are working with a moving model, okay? And it's a bit tricky when you work with moving models. So you want to make sure that the patient doesn't move during this procedure. So again, actually, those models I got from my dear students at the clinic the other day. I documented the complete denture cases, the before and after images. I did this actually in 20 seconds video because I had no time at that day, but you can tell that I can talk to patients about how dentures are important. If you're a student, if you are a prosthodontist, if you want to talk to patients about how the treatment is important, documenting cases matters. So here's another one. This is the before. Usually I do not get the whole head. I make do with the 180 field from one ear to the other ear because this is all that I need, unless God forbids the patient has something to rehabilitate at the skull. So this is a question for you. I made those two models, one of them using the stitched images feature, which is in other words that I am photographing my patient from one ear to the other ear, moving slowly, stitching images together. And the other one, I made it through a video, okay? So if you want to know, actually lots of research is talking about this, and some research said that videos are less accurate, but guess what? I got those two beautiful models, and I think they are as accurate as each other. And the first one was the video, and the second one was from Stitched Images. Actually, I asked my friend Sati about it the other day. He could answer easily because he's the developer. So he said, I knew that this is the Stitched Image model because it is stitched to the background. So this is why a clear background is important, actually. This paper was published yesterday, I believe. It's a very interesting paper that talked about quantifying the facial proportions in the edentulous individuals before and after rehabilitation with complete dentures compared with dentate individuals. They used the 3D stereophotogrammetry, which is, as we said previously, stitching and making models out of more than one lens, more than one lens. Actually, this is like either an advanced system like the PIC or 2 cameras. They use those models to quantify the facial proportions and compare them. And this is a very interesting study, but it tells a lot about the importance of those models, especially in complete denture patients. Actually, this is what we used to do. Sorry, the video is supposed to play here. Okay. Okay, just a second. I'm sorry about that. Doesn't want to play. Anyhow, we used to need to take CBCT scan for the patient because if you want the soft tissue, actually CBCT, for skull CBCT, I mean, or CT scans, they get you they get you the face details and the soft tissue details. So, okay, here's it. Sorry about that. You can see the video now, right?
We do.
Okay, so this is what we used to do. This was an all-on-4 case, and I needed to make the patient go through radiation. And that was important because I needed to get the patient's hard and soft tissue all together. So you don't need to do this anymore, okay? You can make do with those face scan applications. The X1 AI actually owing to having me using this application a lot, especially to do face scans. They added the face scan feature. I found it the other day. I was really thrilled about it. It enables you to scan your own face via the selfie camera, and I tried that out. It's a nice feature. Also, it allows you to trim your excess parts of the model. We get this a lot, and it removes the background for you automatically, which is a very nice feature. So if you want to sum up what we have said, the uses and studies of photogrammetry include analysis, planning, and visualization of the case, okay? Capturing and creating highly detailed replicas for the nasal, the orbital, the auricular defects. And this is very important for maxillofacial patients. Also, it can be used to perform 3D scanning, but more effort must be made to enhance its accuracy. The initial reports, according to this paper, of using photogrammetry technology consider this method as a valid and reliable clinical tool in implant dentistry. And also, according to this very nice systematic review, mobile apps for 3D face scanning accuracy is within the clinically relevant deviation range, which is very interesting. Last but not least, among the advantages is sparing patients radiation, CT and CBCT, and this, I believe, is the most important among them all. Okay. So I would like to thank you so much for your incredible attendance of my webinar. And here's my ORCID ID and my email as well. If you want to ask me anything, do not hesitate. And thank you so much. Right now, we are gonna be having the question and answer session, and my dear friend Sati will be leading the session. So if you have any question, do not hesitate, please. If you are attending, and I believe English is not your first language, if you want to ask in Arabic, I will translate. Do not worry about it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Asking any question, I'd like to say that the Zoom meeting was very, very mind-opening, and I had lots of ideas, and really, it broadened my mind, actually. And yeah, I'd like to thank the lecturer, my dearly sister, for this wonderful Zoom meeting. And I hope there will be a lot of Zoom webinars like that in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Noor, for this amazing talk. I'm sure it was informative for all the attendees. For everyone, if you have any questions, please start typing in the chat. And if you want to talk, we can also unmute you if you really want to speak up your questions. But again, you can always type. So, Glenys, let's see if we have questions around and if you can ask. All right.
Yes, yes.
So we have one questions in the chat box. Noor, if you can read it, or I can repeat.
Okay, I am opening my chat box. Okay, this is from the, I cannot pronounce the name properly, but however, it's an Indian name, I believe. How do prosthodontic treatments improve the oral health and the overall quality of life of the patients? Well, as a prosthodontist, I don't think anybody can live without our field. Okay, it's not just about the oral treatment. We deal with extra oral prosthesis all day long, and blending them together, I believe, definitely improves the overall quality of life for patients. I believe it's mandatory. It's inevitable.
All right. Thanks.
Did I answer your question?
I'm sure you did. All right. Glenys, just keep look at the. Okay, we got another questions in the chat again.
Okay, I cannot pronounce the name again, but however, what are the main factors that should be considered by dentists when choosing between different 3D scanner applications? Okay, this is interesting. When I choose a 3D scanning application, the first thing that I worry about is the time. How much time does it take to scan my patient? Because time is money and we don't usually have lots of time at the clinic. This is A. And B, definitely I will be worried about the cost a bit. Okay, because if it's very expensive, then why would I go to the monoscopic photogrammetry? Okay, so the expense is important as well. Also, how fast do I upload the model and how fast do I process and get the 3D model? Case of your application, I believe I tried this. Yeah, I did it yesterday in less than 20 seconds, which was very nicely done. The accuracy of the model, I worry about that very much. And this is why I tried the option of video recording and stitching. I enjoy video recording because I am a hasty person. I do not have much patience, but if you are a patient person, you can definitely go with stitching. Literature says it's a bit more accurate, but for clinical work, the deviation is not clinically relevant. So those are the main factors that I explore whenever I look for a good 3D application.
Thank you. All right, we have another question from Jatin. You can read it in the chat. Everyone else, please, if you have any other questions, please keep putting that in the chat box, or you can raise your hands as well.
Okay, the question is, how does digital dentistry influence the customization of prosthodontic appliances and what benefits does this bring to patient care? Okay, digital dentistry, we are in the era of digital dentistry. Everything is going digital, everything is being digitalized. So when you can customize your treatment plan to your patient based on digital workflow, it saves your time, it saves the patient's time, it saves money, it saves effort. It is the new era. So not just for prosthodontic appliance, it's actually for everything else. And it adds a lot to the patient care because patients want the most accurate treatment. And if they are AI driven and guided by artificial intelligence, this is definitely an added advantage. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Jatin. I am sorry for not pronouncing your name properly again.
Yeah, and now it's not me. I'm sorry for this, but this is not me. Uh, right in the chat, there's another question.
Okay, I'm gonna read that. Okay.
Right.
So it says it's a great application. And my question is, how do these advancements contribute to the overall evolution and the advancement of dentistry as a whole? And is it a leader technology? Definitely it is. I think when I see robotics videos, okay, I feel like I believe human beings are okay, but AI is doing great as well. So you have to be following this. And this is why apps like this or any AI-driven prosthetic treatment actually is causing a great evolution and advancement. I believe this is the new era. You have to be following this, and if an application is taking the lead in this era, this is a great advantage.
All right, you got another question from Prithvi.
Papodra. Okay. It says, do you provide the required format or template for prosthodontics? I don't know. Do you mean the file extension here? Is this your question? The file
I think,
extension?
yeah, I think exactly that is what he's
Okay.
trying to ask
If
here.
we're talking about the extension of the file, as I previously showed, usually the application here, like the X1, it gives you like 5 options. Usually I go with the PLY and the OPG because those are colored. And the STL, which is not colored, but it is still very nice, as we have seen in this recently published yesterday, literally, GPD paper. They use just the STL model without the color. However, any of them is very beneficial in prosthodontics. So I have this question from a dear professor in my department, Professor Safa. She says, is the intraoral scanner successful to capture the deep undercutting cases that need obturator? Actually, dear professor, I tried that out in one of my patients and it was challenging, okay? Because intraoral scanners, they stitch the scanned areas, but if you have a defect with no anatomical features and you don't have enough anatomical features, they get this stitching error. Also, the defect itself has lots of space, and scanners record space as a black zone. And this is when we see new scanners and new generations, like I was dealing with a new generation the other day, it does nicely. It scans models beautifully, but yet undercuts are a little problematic. But if you want a solution to this, actually, when we take a final impression or a secondary impression, I scan the model, okay? Either by a desktop scanner or by intraoral scanner or by this nice photogrammetry application. I tried actually scanning models for maxillofacial patients using those photogrammetry applications, and they give nice outcomes. If properly calibrated, they give you very nice outcomes. And lots of research now is talking about how photogrammetry helps a lot with full arch implant prosthesis. So I believe as generations advance of scanners and everything, this problem will be eventually solved.
Okay, thank you, Noor.
Thank you, dear professor.
All right. I don't see any new questions, but anyone, if you still have something and you want to you don't want to type it, you want to raise your hand and speak about it, you can.
If you have any question, I'm all ears. And you could email me that question if it just popped up in your head. Yeah, on my email, I believe Sati will be sharing my email here, or I can type it for you. No
Yeah.
problem.
There is another question here.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. Yeah. So it says, can we overcome this anatomical landmark with intraoral scanner, with opaque material or other options? Yes, this is a very interesting question because lots of research is discussing this issue right now. They are using either various appliances, either various anatomical features that would make stitching easier, because today I was talking about stitching for this application or a 3D scanner application, but stitching is stitching either for an intraoral scanner or a facial scanner. So lots of research is adding appliances to scan with, and adding stuff like accessories to increase the features and the anatomical landmarks. So this facilitate stitching, just like the principles that we just said. When you have a textured or a model with anatomical data, this definitely makes a better model for you. And the same goes for the intraoral scans, of course. I hope I answered your question.
There is a follow-up on the question.
Another one? Yeah. What you recommend? What do you do yourself? Okay, what I would do myself for intraoral scanning. Okay. Okay, this is a tricky one. If you are talking about an implant case, lots of research is discussing the anatomical, the alteration in the scan body, geometric form itself, okay? So what I would do myself is add features or texture to the scanner. So the scanner can stitch them, and then I go back to the original position and the scanner can see what I am trying to stitch. So I have a reference instead of having zero anatomical landmarks at this area. So what I would do myself is that you can use whatever you got at hand, whatever you got in the clinic, if you're talking about the intraoral scan, whatever characterization that you can make is perfectly fine. And this problem is only found in the intraoral environment, because on the extraoral environment, or when you're scanning a face, we have lots of features. You got ears, you got nose, you got hair, and when I do models from one ear to the other, I do not have this problem, most probably. But intraorally, you need to either use, sometimes we use just any filling material at disposal, any impression material at disposal. Sometimes we use just appliances made of PMMA or PEEK to scan with. Sometimes just scan bodies with altered geometric forms, or even a friend of mine just published the paper talking about wings, like connecting or decreasing the inter-implant distance. But this is another topic to discuss, because lots of strategies and techniques are being implemented in order to make scanners easily glue or stitch common areas that they see. So this problem could be easily overcome by those techniques, and the accuracy is greatly increased, like in terms of trueness or precision or whatever you want. It definitely gets better when you add texture. I hope this answers the question now.
All right, I think this brings us to the end of the session today. I think all the email IDs and Nour Facebook pages are shared in the chat. So if you have any further question, any other queries, do write Nour on the email. And we're gonna go upload this webinar recording also on our X1 site and also on the Facebook pages. So if you want to rewatch it, if you want to share with others, please do that. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. So thank you everyone for being here, coming and being with us for almost 45-50 minutes listening to the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sati. Thank you so much for the incredible organization of everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you for making this speech possible. All right, thank you.
Okay, so see you, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.